Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Zarhus Developers Meetup number 2. So this is our poster. So welcome to the world of Zarhus, our digital chess night. So this is second meeting. We would like to give you a heads up about accomplishments over the last 3 months and how we follow our mission and vision, how we realize it through Zarhus and all the Zarhus derivatives. So I'm very happy that we kind of start a new secular tradition and celebrate all the achievements of the Zarhus team. And I hope this will continue with the further presentations. For those who are watching this first time, Zarhus is an embedded Linux distribution which is based on Yocto. It is developed by 3M and our goal is to simplify provisioning, integration, and maintenance of embedded platforms with the focus on security features, especially those not typical one, not easy enabled one. So those like provisioning of root of trust, configuring chain of trust, and essentially making it available for whole embedded system boot stack. So regarding the rules or kind of theory of operation for this meetup, this is forum on which people from Zarhus Team, so from 3M Zarhus Team, and partners can share knowledge and inform each other about related development. Event happen every quarter. We typically have presentations which are up to 20 minutes. Those presentations are focused on demos. So we have a little bit of theory, and most of that is demo, presenting some features, some achievements, maybe except this presentation. And then we have some small time for questions. And if there is no questions, I typically ask something myself. This is recorded, and Zarhus Developers Meetup number 1 is already available on YouTube. And if you get to those presentations will be shared, so you will have the link for the previous presentations here. Those are also built into our Pretalks self-hosted instance at cfp3mdev.com, as well as on the Zarhus Developers Meetup event page, which is based on self-hosted high events. Last time, yesterday, I was looking at the statistics on YouTube. So definitely the winner of the last ZDM is Mateusz. Mateusz gathered the most audience because I guess probably topic was mainstream in our ecosystem. But the difference is not that big. I guess it was around 90 on 100 or 100 views. So it's not blasting, but something. So OpenBMC talk was first, then Kick Secure RAM Wipe was second with 60. And then 30 couple for cache timing attacks. So that's the 3 most popular ones. So Daniel's was second and Michał was third one. That's about the views. Today, what we will talk about, we are at Welcome Zarhus Developers Meetup. So right now, I will talk a little bit about some Zarhus business related and mission vision related stuff. Then we have Mateusz, who will do second edition of the OpenBMC presentation, or Zarhus BMC, as we call our derivative. Then Michał will talk about securing embedded Linux, showing our achievements in area of chain of trust and secure boot, and also encryption and secure updates. Then Daniel will talk about cross-cone hypervisor, and especially from perspective of virtualization on microcontrollers. So virtualization on platforms without virtualization support, without hardware virtualization support. And then Maciej will end up the event with the Sharo toolsuit status, saying what we did and what we plan to do in upcoming releases. And I have some closing remarks regarding events that coming, so please stay tuned. So what I plan to talk today about, I would like to show you Zarhus family and derivatives. There is the Zarhus OS, but what does it really mean? What kind of derivatives we have, and what are the purpose of those derivatives? Then we'll show a couple of things about the Zarhus toolsuit, but to not repeat anything that Maciej planned, I have like slightly different perspective. And then I will end up with Zarhus business model. Maybe also we'll talk a little bit about the vision for some of the OSs that we plan to deliver as part of Zarhus OS project. So as you all know, probably the most popular and then the most widespread Zarhus derivative is called the Zarhus toolsuit. Is a set of tools packed as a minimal Linux distro, which helps in deploying, updating, and maintaining firmware, open source firmware like our Zarhus, but probably can be used for other purposes. But of course, we adding support for commercial side of the Zarhus. So that's why we have to have this tool to simplify that for our users. I have some interesting comments from the community, from the blog post and reviews of the Zarhus about the Zarhus toolsuit. So definitely community knows it, likes it, and really wait for the improvements in this area. So we kind of setting up the trend here for tools for open source firmware. Second one is a remote testing environment. This is a small operating system created for Orange Pi Zero HAT called remote testing environment, which is open source hardware. We're using that hardware and that OS for our lab, for our Zarhus lab. Of course, we're testing not only Zarhus, but also other deliverables of 3MD, both commercial one as well as Zarhus one. So yeah, RTE OS is maybe not so popular, but it's very useful in supporting testing environment. Essentially, it's a crucial component of our testing environment. Yeah, so this is essentially to enable programmers from around the world to make a remote access to their SPI flash, to their power control for given hardware target. The one that upcoming, which is very important for a whole ecosystem, and I think it will grow. I have one like kind of bigger slide about vision of provisioning box, or P-box as we call it. So this is specially crafted, reasonably secure and trustworthy embedded operating system, with goal of being run either in virtual machine, either on hardware. In case of hardware, right now we have support for Odroid H4 Plus, but I can imagine that we could have support for other hardware. But anyway, that would be the default shipping mechanism, like either virtual machine image, either flashed on the NVMe of the Odroid H4 Plus hardware. The goal is to simplify root of trust and chain of trust provisioning and maintenance. We can also call this provisioning box CI in the box, because we want to have kind of self-hosted, air-gapped system which can build firmware, because most of the firmware to correctly provision chain of trust and like provision root of trust and maintain root of trust as well as maintain chain of trust require to do build time, some build time actions, and that's the goal of this operating system, to contain the tools and contain the interface to simplify that process. So essentially, we want to create, for example, the Zarhus binaries, which have all the prerequisites, for example, for deploying Intel boot guard. I will talk a little bit more about that on the further slides with some long-term vision for provisioning box. I will have a lot of hopes in this product. Yeah, so it aims to, if not solve, to at least mitigate issues which are very popular these days. All the problems that we see in the mass media regarding UEFI secure boot are probably related to key mismanagement, and we hope that provisioning box kind of at least can mitigate a little bit those issues, because as a self-contained system could be better managed to do one thing like signing binaries, provisioning binaries, and so on. Okay, The next one is Zarhus BMC. So right now we don't have any binary produced yet, but it is like a planet one. We can say that it's an incarnation of Zarhus OS dedicated for BMCs. It consists. So the plan is that it will consist set of tools which will help in accelerating porting porting proprietary enabled hardware to the OpenBMC, as well as assess security and of course support in managing root of trust and chain of trust for BMCs. And the last one, which is also kind of concept-wise right now, is Zarhus WRT, which is based on OpenWRT ecosystem. And the goal here is to target wireless routers and have kind of 3M depth version of the WRT. Yeah, and we will see where this will go. Okay, so those are 5 distros which are right now maintained. And now let's look at each one maybe in a little bit more details. So this is statistics about regarding downloads of the Dasharo toolsuit from the GitHub. Of course, we don't have all the versions, and I guess the version 1.128 is really couple versions together because the earlier versions didn't have attached the artifacts from the build. But anyway, this is how it looks like. But so it's not small number. It's still kind of quite a lot. It's like probably, I don't know, 2,000 maybe or something downloads. But you see that version 2, like there is one outlier. The version 2.1.3 is kind of 600 downloads. I don't know why is that. We probably could look. Maybe this was associated with some release of some hardware. Maybe there was also a long time between version 2.1.3 and version 2.2.0. But anyway, we already see that version 2.5.0 already got 100 downloads, and it was not released so long time ago. So that's very good. Yeah. So I guess like more statistics regarding Dasharo toolsuit will be on Maciej presentation, but this was interesting, and it was not very hard to extract those information. Those information are stored in metadata available to everyone when you call GitHub API. So that's very easy to extract. I assume, of course, there are summary data, so we have to look at precise artifact because they showing typically the how for given release. Then we have to decompose look precisely at I don't know WICGZ file, how many times that one was downloaded. But I think the more important is following certain rules of developing open source software is looking for the feedback from the community. And this is article which was posted on Linux Tech More, where precisely Dasharo toolsuit is mentioned. Of course, maybe not in the best context, but still on the one side, people care about Dasharo toolsuit, care about the bugs there, and care about what will be next, and hope that some bugs will be fixed. So that's one indication of the popularity of Dasharo toolsuit. And another one, which is very kind of more positive, is that people really recognize Dasharo toolsuit. So you can read here that yes, that Dasharo can boot over iPXE to load extremely minimal Linux environment to download and flash new version of Dasharo firmware automatically. Of course, Dasharo toolsuit is not mentioned here directly, but we know what it does. And of course, you see that author of the OS News review say that this is really great thing because most of the BIOS updates coming from the not really good websites, and still you have to use USB sticks to boot and use some proprietary application and so on and so on. And Dasharo does it differently. Apparently, some people think Dasharo does it better. So that's why Dasharo toolsuit is very important deliverable of Zarhus Team, and we should care about those users. Not everyone knows, but Dasharo got something which is called firmware update mode. So if you go to Dasharo security options in the BIOS, you can hit firmware update mode, enter firmware update mode, and you just get this monit where you are warned that you will remove flash protections and boot DTS, and then you can do the updates. All those updates really happen automatically. That's probably biggest synergy with the DTS and Zarhus team with the Dasharo team. So that's also some people saying this is very positive. From my perspective, there is quite big footprint for that use case, but yeah, that's maybe a perspective regarding security. We couldn't solve that different way, so it is what it is. Maybe in future we will have something way more minimal to achieve the same goal. Okay, this is RTE OS releases, so you can see that it's not so much popular as DTS, and of course the releases are rare. If we look at the statistics, so like maybe what all that means, what kind of conclusion we should take from that. I really like Eric Raymond's and Cathedral and the Bazaar and whole philosophy presented there. To be honest, 3MDEP is built on that philosophy, so I really encourage everyone to read that book. But essentially, there is a chapter there which is called Release, Release Often. But not everyone knows the whole sentence. That whole sentence was release often and listen to your customers. So we should always listen to the feedback, and as much as we can improve, probably publish roadmaps and improve and show how we listen to those customers, so they felt they feel that we really recognize their feedback and they provide more feedback, and then community can grow. So our goal is to publish as many releases as possible, also of course assuming reasonable quality, because we can of course publish, just bump the numbers, and this is not what I mean. I mean keeping similar quality and increased number of releases. The question is how that can be done. Of course, one thing is that the tests have to be written with the automation in mind. So testing have to be automated by design. And of course, it would be great if we could rely more on metadata, configurable even by user, not rely on hard-coded values. I know DTS going in that direction, that's very well, but we should always remember if we, for example, doing provisioning box or Zarhus BMC, Zarhus WRT, to keep this separation of configuration and implementation. Then one more idea that I have and kind of trying to push in 3MDEP, also in Dasharo team, is to have both long-term stable releases, for example, once in a year, but maybe for DTS it would be too rarely, so we probably for DTS need more. Then scoped releases, so on top of the LTS releases we could have, let's say, PR which just implements certain feature, we just validate that feature and assume that everything is okay. Of course, this is not always true, but then we can communicate with users, listen, this is not LTS release, there can be something wrong there, and if you have any feedback, please submit an issue or just let us know over the chat. And nightly builds which are automatically smoke tested, and that's it. Like there is no guarantees that nightly will work, but on the other side, like will work minimalistically, but someone will have something very fresh, very recent. Okay, regarding the average number of releases, how it looks like for DTS, we have over 3 releases per quarter on average. For RTE, we need 11 months for the release, so it's like 1 release a year or something like that. So that's the baseline. The question is like if we can implement some of these concepts to make more releases. Okay, I guess I have to speed up a little bit. Provisioning box vision. So as I said, it should be possible to run it in virtual machine and on bare metal. Then if it is in virtual machine, the assumption is that all the security is delegated to hosting provider and we don't care about it. But for the hardware, we can add additional security measures like provisioning Intel boot guard, provisioning UEFI secure boot, And the point is that it really should be, the bare metal should be able to self-provision itself. So essentially should enable Intel boot guard and enable UEFI secure boot, encrypt, and maintain security by itself. So I guess Michał will talk a little bit about those features in his presentation. Of course, like it should handle all the root of trust technologies, like all the like Rockchip secure boot, NXP high assurance boot. But this is long story. Of course, we need first customers who wants that to enable that. We starting with Intel boot guard. We will see what will be next. And as the same situation is with the chain of trust, we already know that we would like to have UEFI secure boot provisioning, but we already thinking, for example, about, I don't know, building trench boot packages for CubesOS, or even building DTS and signing with provisioning box. It should support HSM. This is very interesting thread that I explored today while developing training materials, but maybe this is a little off topic. There is quite easy way of forcing OpenSSL to use HSM instead of files, because most of the build system use files. That's very bad. So we should also consider this as our goal, to enable HSMs and natively support those builds for provisioning root of trust and creating chain of trust. We should natively support HSM. And of course, the other area of that is a compliance. So for example, upcoming EU CRA regulation, NIS2 regulation, ISO 27000, all those could be possible thanks to provisioning box. Regarding BMC, there is not much right now, but the vision is to have tooling and then have something called auto-porting. I guess Mateusz will talk about that a little bit more. So I will not dive deeper here. I guess similar situation is with Zarhus WRT. There's similar vision. Other part of the vision is PACE enterprise training and OST2 automation. This is very interesting because if you look at typical training, you have typical training that 3M does. You have kind of 4 environments in which students operate. First environment is the virtual machine, which whole training happen. Right now it is based on Ubuntu 24.04 with some customization. We're doing that with automation, but the question is if this is the best solution. Then we have emulated environment, which is running in this VM, which right now is based on Alpine Linux and running in QEMU. So this is another operating system which we're using. Then on target hardware, let's say in our case, Odroid, hard kernel Odroid H4, it's Ubuntu, also customized for that. And then finally we have DTS, which is used as a live distro for the Odroid. And all these 4 are used, and you have to keep consistency among all those 4 to make sure that all the exercises always will pass, even if the trainings evolve, the Ubuntu is upgraded, and so on and so on. So this is some area that definitely Zarhus Team can help and should help. Okay, regarding business models, I wanted to spend a little bit more time on that. I know I already consuming my questioning time, but that's important to let you know how things should look like here. This is essentially clone of the Dasharo business model, but slightly modified. So bear with me. So essentially, we can think about Zarhus and Zarhus OSs as something for individuals or business. And based on if you are individual or business, you may have different cooperation models, different target audience, different primary use, different access to the releases, support level, customization possibility, pricing, and additional features. So if we talk about individual users can be support only through Zarhus community support program. And this is for personal computing, and there are essentially 2 types of releases that we're planning. So ZCR, which is Zarhus community release, those will be like DTS or RTE OS. So the binary is publicly available, free to download, no payment. There is only community support for that. So someone creating an issue and maybe asking on matrix, and that's it. And yeah, this is free of charge. There are no additional things here. Then there can be ZPPR, which is Zarhus Pro package release. And it would mean some kind of Zarhus Primer support payment, prepaid for a year, for example, or multiple years, with some limited customization. Of course, the issues created by those users will be treated with higher priority. And we don't have any candidate for that one. Potentially, Zarhus BMC could be like that, but initially we plan that Zarhus BMC will be ZCR. So right now there is no plan for ZPPR releases in Zarhus Team. Then business clients can have either ZCR, that's fine to use, of course, to some limits. And then ZEPR, so this is Zarhus Enterprise Package Release. So essentially, this is like Zarhus Pro package, but for the business clients. And initial plan for this one is that provisioning box OS and the hardware underlying will be under this program. And potentially also, if some of our partners would like to resell it, that's fine. We will allow that. We will have some agreements regarding that. Most likely this will handle one release per year. There can be discount if someone will take volume, and of course optional revenue sharing. The further one, like Zarhus support package, is for someone who wants really dedicated support. So there is dedicated contract, enhanced support, and high customization. In ZSP, we rely mostly on Zarhus components which are already existing. We adjust them. And in case of Zarhus Enterprise Edition, that's essentially like copyright transfer, white labeling, all the like very high-end support from 3M Dev team. And this is very top priced selling of Zarhus Team time. So we don't like selling Zarhus Team time. That's why this is very expensive. And all the other options are much cheaper. And we essentially encourage to take those cheaper options than the one expensive one. But if someone really wants, they can. Okay, so that's about business model. So about the future, next Zarhus Developers Meetup is planned for 4th November. And next one in February 2026. So there is a lot of time to that. But that's preliminary date. We will see how this will work. And I guess that's almost it. I just wanted to tell and start to track how many I don't know, followers, stars we have. So you can see that since last time our matrix space gained 6 members, and Zarhus BMC got 8 stars, which is probably thanks to Mateusz's discussion idea and hype created around discussion in this repository. And whole GitHub of Zarhus Team has 14 followers, and we're looking to grow those numbers. Okay, sorry for that. Sorry for just overwriting Mateusz's talk. 3 minutes. Sorry, Mateusz. I hope you can gain that back from the break or from the question area. So I guess we can switch unless there are some questions somewhere.
I don't really understand how the LTC or LTS releases will work with the Shara toolsuite, because the Shara toolsuite serves 2 main purposes. It's for firmware provisioning, and tools, isn't it? And if we want to release LTS once per year, I actually don't know how it will work, because for now on we have only released the new versions of the Shara toolsuite when it is needed for firmware.
So this is essentially evidence of bad design. So you don't have to release FWPD or LVFS new to support a new version of the firmware. How is that possible? Because it heavily relies on metadata. So if you would rely heavily on metadata, which you're fetching from the known point in the network, or deliver manually to the system, you can safely have one release in a year and just change the metadata based on which the execution happened. Of course,
Okay.
of course, if there is like no kind of feature, no kind of firmware which is different kind, then yes, but maybe right now we have too often new kind of firmware that needs different operation. But at some point we will saturate that and we will support all kinds of firmwares, and then we can just fetch the metadata.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you.